I died choking on my own blood, the taste of arsenic sharp as betrayal on my tongue. My parents' faces blurring into smug silhouettes as they watched me gasp my last breath in the family mansion's solarium. That's when I knew they'd poison me, not just for the money, but because I'd become the loose end in their perfect lie. And just like that, the world went black, only to snap back into focus 10 years earlier. My 20-year-old body jolting awake in a cramped Brooklyn apartment, heart pounding like I'd just outrun a freight train. The first thing I did was vomit into the sink, the sour bile mixing with tears I hadn't shed since high school. It was 2015, the air thick with the scent of rain-soaked concrete and overbrewed coffee from the bodega downstairs. My phone buzzed on the chipped Formica counter, a text from Mom. Dinner at the house tonight? Dad's grilling steaks. I stared at it, fingers trembling. The memory of that same family dinner, a decade from now, flashing like a horror reel, the tainted wine, their feigned concern as I convulsed, the ambulance they never called fast enough. I'd trusted them. Hell, I'd idolized them, Eleanor and Richard Hargrove, the golden couple of Manhattan real estate, who'd clawed their way from Queens row houses to penthouses overlooking Central Park. And me, Monroe Hargrove, their only daughter, the disappointment who dropped out of Columbia to chase freelance graphic design gigs, scraping by on ramen and regret.
But now
I had a second chance. A goddamn do-over. The kind of cosmic mulligan that philosophers would call a miracle and therapists a delusion. I rinsed my mouth, splashed cold water on my face, and looked in the mirror. Same hazel eyes, same wild chestnut curls I'd chopped short in a year to look professional. But those eyes, they burn now. Sharper. Hungrier. I wouldn't be their pawn again. This time, I'd unravel every thread of their empire before they could tighten the noose. I grabbed my laptop, the one with the sticker from that indie Comic Con in Jersey, and started digging. Google was my Excalibur. First search, Hargrove Realty Scandals. Nothing major popped up, not yet. But I knew the rot was there, buried under layers of NDAs and greased palms. Grandma Vivian's death in 2020 had been the catalyst in my original timeline. The old bird, sharp as a switchblade even in her 90s, had cut Mom and Dad out of her will almost entirely, funneling her $2 million nest egg, proceeds from a savvy tech stock she'd bought in the 90s, straight to me. For the girl with fire in her veins, her lawyer had said at the reading, his voice cracking like fine china. Mom's face had turned the color of ash. Dad's jaw clenched so tight, I thought he'd shatter a molar. They'd played it cool for weeks, cooing about how proud they were. But the resentment festered. And when I started sniffing around Vivian's old letters, hints of family secrets they'd buried deep, they snapped. Poisoned me in my sleep after a reconciliation dinner. Framed it as an overdose on my depression meds. The cops bought it hook, line, and sinker. No one suspects the upscale parents in a city that worships wealth. 10 years back, Vivian was still kicking, holed up in her Upper East Side brownstone, terrorizing the help with her encyclopedic knowledge of bridge and her zero tolerance for bullshit. I hadn't spoken to her in months, not since Mom guilted me into skipping her birthday tea for some Hargrove Realty gala. But today I was calling an Uber and marching over there like a woman on a mission. The brownstone loomed like a Gothic novel come to life. Ivy clawing up the facade, the brass knocker shaped like a snarling lion. Vivian answered herself. God forbid she let the maid do it, her silver hair pinned in a chignon that screamed old money. Her eyes the same piercing green as mine, minus the murder. Monroe? To what do I owe this apparition? She arched a brow. But there was warmth in it, the kind she'd parceled out like rare vintage. Gran, I said, stepping inside before she could protest. The scent of lemon polish and Chanel No. 5 wrapping around me like a hug I didn't deserve yet.
We need to talk.
About the will. Her laugh was a bark. Bold as brass. Aren't you? Most grandkids wait till I'm in the ground. She led me to the parlor. All velvet settees and crystal decanters. Pouring us scotch neat. No ice. Vivian didn't dilute truth. What's got your knickers in a twist? Girl, your parents finally show their claws. I sipped. The burn steadying me. How much to tell? The whole reincarnated revenge plot?
Nah.
Start small.
There. Pressuring me.
About the business. Dad wants me to intern. Mom's on about family legacy. But I know you see through them. Always have. Vivian's gaze sharpened. Like she'd spotted a tell in a high-stakes poker game. Legacy?
Huh.
More like liability. Your father's a snake in Brooks Brothers. And Eleanor's got the moral compass of a Kardashian. She leaned forward, voice dropping.
But you.
You're Vivian's blood. The one who didn't sell her soul for a Tribeca loft. I swallowed hard. In my old life, I'd found those letters after her death, yellowed envelopes in a locked drawer, detailing how Richard had embezzled from her late husband's estate in the 80s. How Eleanor had covered it up with forged documents. Vivian had forgiven them, chalking it to youthful ambition, but she'd watched them like a hawk. The $2 million? It was her insurance policy against them bleeding her dry. And me? She'd seen potential. The artist in a family of sharks. Tell me everything, I pressed. The dirt. All of it. She studied me, then nodded once, decisive as a guillotine drop. For the next hour, she spilled the kickbacks from shady developers, the offshore accounts in the Caymans, the union busting that left workers homeless. And that's just the tip, darling.
Day deeper.
And you'll hit bedrock. By the time I left, my head spun with names, dates, account numbers scribbled on a napkin. Vivian hugged me goodbye, rare as a blue moon, and whispered, "Don't let them break you again." Again? A chill spidered down my spine. Had she sensed it?
Nah.
Just old lady intuition. Back in Brooklyn, I holed up with takeout lo mein and my laptop, cross-referencing her intel with public records. It was tedious FOIA requests, archived news clips, but by midnight, I had a skeleton. Richard's shell company funneling $500,000 to a consultant who'd vanished after a warehouse fire killed 2 inspectors. Arson? Maybe. Manslaughter? Definitely. And Eleanor? She'd lawyered up the PR spin, painting Hargrove Realty as the victim of extremist sabotage. Sleep came fitful. Dreams of arsenic-laced Merlot morphing into boardroom battles. Morning brought a pounding at the door, Mom. All pearls and panic. Her Botox smile cracking at the edges. Monroe, why didn't you come to dinner last night? We were worried sick. I let her in, the apartment shrinking under her designer perfume assault. Busy.
Mom.
Freelance deadline. She eyed the clutter, sketch pads, empty beer cans, like it was a crime scene.
This.
Hovel. It's beneath you. Come home. Your father and I have a proposition. There it was. The hook. In my old timeline.
기대비된.
Moved back for support, only to drown in their control. This time, I played coy.
Proposition?
Like what? A position at the firm. Junior exec. Salary. Benefits, the works. Her eyes gleamed. Predatory. Time to stop playing house with these artists. I forced a laugh. Heart racing. Tempting. But I need details. What's the catch?
No catch.
Darling. Lie number 1. She launched into the pitch. Glamour. Power. The Hargrove name as my golden ticket. But I heard the subtext, the surveillance. The slow erosion of my independence. The setup for when Vivian kicked it. By evening, I'd agreed to a trial week. Baby steps. Let them think they had me. The Hargrove Realty office was a glass cathedral on Park Avenue. All chrome and egos. Dad greeted me with a bear hug that smelled of cigars and cologne. His salt and pepper hair artfully tousled. Knew you'd come around.
Kiddo.
Blood's thicker than ink. Thicker than poison.
2.
I thought, smiling through gritted teeth. My desk was a corner cubicle with a view of the intern fishbowl. Tasks piling up, coffee runs, spreadsheet drudgery. But I had an agenda. Lunch breaks became stakeouts, tailing Dad's Mercedes to a nondescript diner in Midtown, where he met a weaselly guy in a cheap suit. I snapped photos from across the street, zoom lens catching the envelope exchange. Bribe? Blackmail payoff.
Nights.
I met with Vivian in shadowy cafes. Feeding her crumbs. Getting mountains back. That diner's a front for the union shakedown, she'd say. Sliding over a dossier thicker than a Bible. Richard's been bleeding them dry since '09. One slip-up. I got cocky. Confronting Mom over wine about a discrepancy in old financials I'd stumbled on. Her face froze mid-sip, eyes narrowing. Where'd you hear that nonsense? Some bitter ex-employee. Just curious, I shrugged. But the seed was planted.
Doubt. Fear.
The first crack in their facade. Weeks blurred into a tense tango. I charmed the staff. Unearthed emails on the shared drive, Eleanor's signature on falsified permits for a toxic waste dump disguised as luxury condos. The victims? Low-income families in the Bronx, displaced and forgotten. My stomach churned. This wasn't just greed.
It was genocide by spreadsheet.
Then the hook sank deeper. Dad pulled me into his office. All leather chairs and framed Forbes clippings. Monroe, level with me. You seeing someone? That artist type from your sketches. I blinked, caught off guard.
What? No.
Why? He leaned back, steepling fingers. Just
protecting you.
World's full of users.
Hypocrite.
But his tone possessive, laced with something darker. In my old life, he'd vetted my boyfriends, tanking relationships with anonymous tips to HR. Control freaks to the core. I can handle myself, Dad. My voice was steel. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. That night, a package arrived at the apartment, anonymous, brown paper wrapped. Inside, a single photo, me and Vivian at the cafe, time-stamped yesterday. No note. Just a Polaroid's cold stare. They knew. The game had escalated.
Panic clawed at me.
But I shoved it down. Call the cops? They'd spin it, overprotective parents checking in.
No.
This was personal. I needed proof. Ironclad. The kind that toppled empires. Vivian, bless her, had connections. A retired PI buddy, Frank, grizzled as a bear, met me in a dive bar off Times Square. Kid, This is deep shit. Your folks? They're Teflon. But I got a line on that shell company. Leads to a Cayman vault.
Crack it.
And you're golden. Cost? My savings. Scraped from gigs. Plus a favor. Plant a bug at the next family gala. Risky. Stupid. Maybe. But hesitation? That got me killed once. The gala was Hargrove's annual schmooze fest at the plaza. Chandeliers dripping like honeyed lies. Air thick with champagne and backroom deals. I wore a slinky black number, borrowed from Vivian, who winked and said, "Seduce the truth out of M." Dad introduced me as the future of Hargrove, his arm heavy around my shoulders. Mom air-kissed cheeks, her diamond tennis bracelet winking like a warning. Midway through, I slipped into the coat check, palming the tiny recorder into Dad's Burberry overcoat pocket. Heart hammering, I rejoined the fray, laughing at developer jokes that curdled my gut. By dawn, Frank had the audio, Dad's voice, slurred with scotch, to a shadowy investor. The Bronx site's clean, Eleanor's permits sailed through. Those inspectors? Loose ends tied. Laughter. Then lower. Vivian sniffing around again. If she pushes.
Well.
Accidents happen. My blood ran Arctic. Accidents.
Like mine.
I confronted Vivian that afternoon, her parlor feeling like a war room.
Gran.
They're capable of anything. We expose now. She poured brandy, hands steady. Patience. Monroe. Rushing invites backlash. We build the case, feds. Not headlines. But patience was a luxury I didn't have. That night, my phone rang, unknown number. A distorted voice. Drop it. Or join your secrets in the Hudson. Threat 1. The noose tightened. I didn't sleep after the call. Instead, I paced my Brooklyn walk-up, the floorboards creaking like accusations, replaying the voice in my head, gravelly. But with that faint upstate twang Dad faked when schmoozing contractors. Was it him? One of his goons?
Didn't matter.
The message was clear. Back off. Or become roadkill. By morning, I'd armored up. New locks on the door, a can of mace in my purse, and a burner phone for Frank. Double down, I told him, over greasy diner eggs. That Cayman account, hack it if you have to. I need transaction logs yesterday. Frank chuckled. Toothpick dancing.
Hack, kid.
I'm old school. But yeah, I got a guy. Cost you another $1,000.
Though.
Done. My freelance checks were drying up, clients ghosting after Mom's concerned calls to their bosses, but Vivian slipped me cash in unmarked envelopes. Her way of saying fight dirty, if you must. Work at Hargrove amped the paranoia. Cubicle whispers turned suspicious, interns side-eyeing my late nights. Dad's casual drop-ins with questions about my social life. Mom cornered me in the ladies' room one afternoon, her reflection in the marble sink a mask of maternal worry. Monroe. Honey, you've been distant. Is it drugs? A boy. I met her gaze. Unflinching. It's you.
Mom. And Dad.
The lies. Her laugh tinkled like breaking glass. Lies? We're giving you everything. That apartment's a slum. Come home. Let us help. Help.
Right.
Like the help that laced my wine in 2025. I'm good. But thanks for the concern. She grabbed my arm, harder than necessary. Nails digging crescents. Don't throw your life away over fairy tales. Vivian's poison. filling your head with grudges. I yanked free, pulse thundering. Fairytales? Like the $2 million she left me? Or the accidents Dad mentions at galas? Her face drained of color, just for a split second, before the smile snapped back. You're imagining things.
Stress. Probably.
See a doctor. I bolted, straight to the elevator. Her words echoing, Vivian's poison. Projection much? Frank delivered 2 days later. A USB drive in a plain manila folder. Dropped at my stoop like contraband. I plugged it in at a library computer, far from prying eyes. Jackpot. Wire transfers from Hargrove Shells to a consulting firm owned by a ghost, Eleanor's maiden name Ghost. Actually. $1.2 million over 5 years. Funneled to political PACs that greased zoning approvals. And the kicker? A memo. Scanned and grainy, VH. Interference. Neutralize if necessary.
RH. Neutralize.
My gran. Ball rose. Hot and furious. They hadn't just planned for me, they'd eyed her too. I raced to the brownstone, bursting in without knocking. Vivian was at her desk, fountain pen scratching stock notes, but she looked up sharp.
Trouble.
Everything. I slapped the printouts down. They're plotting against you.
Us.
She scanned them, lips thinning to a line. Bastards. Knew it was coming to a head. She steepled her fingers. Mind whirring. We go public?
No.
Leverage. I call my old friend at the DOJ Quiet Inquiry. You? Play along. Get closer. Find the smoking gun. Closer? To the vipers? My skin crawled. But she was right. Infiltration beat annihilation. So I did the unthinkable. I moved back home. For the job, I told them over a strained family dinner. Dad's steaks charred to ash from his distracted grilling. Mom beamed. All forgiveness. But her eyes darted, calculating. The penthouse was a gilded cage. Marble counters. Skyline views. Silence broken only by the hum of the Sub-Zero fridge. My old room, untouched since college, felt like a museum of the girl I'd been. Posters of shepherd fairy prints. Sketchbooks half filled with dreams of graphic novels.
Now.
It was Recon Central.
I vite till de slept.
Then rifled Dad's study, locked drawers picked with a paperclip, YouTube tutorial. Don't judge. Files spilling like confetti, blueprints for the Bronx dump. Emails to a fixer named Lou, about silencing dissent. One folder stopped me cold, labeled MH, contingency. Inside. My psych eval from a family therapist they'd hired years ago. Twisted to paint me as unstable, suicidal. Forged prescriptions for antidepressants I'd never taken. The setup. If or when they needed to write me off. Rage boiled. But I pocketed photos on my phone, steady hands belying the storm. Down the hall, Mom's office yielded more. Jewelry appraisals. Suspiciously high. Traced to Vivian's missing heirlooms. She'd pawned Gran's pearls? For what? Another slush fund. A week in. The tension cracked. Dad caught me napping in the library, really scrolling SEC filings on my tablet. Burning the midnight oil. Ambitious. Like your old man. I closed the screen. Casual. Just research. That Cayman thing. Ever heard of Blue Horizon Limited? His pause was a heartbeat too long. Sounds familiar. Why? Popped up in a client audit. Thought it might be a lead.
Lie?
smooth as silk. He chuckled, but it was forced. Leave the big boy stuff to me.
Kiddo. You focus on.
Whatever girls do. Sexist prick. I smiled.
Sure.
Dad. That night. The dreams hit hard. The solarium again. Arsenic blooming in my veins. Their voices overlapping, she knew too much. Loose end. I woke sweating, throat raw, and did something insane. I called my ex, Jax, the tattooed sculptor I dated in this timeline. The one mom accidentally got deported with a fake tip to IC. Voicemail. Hey, it's Monroe. Miss you. Coffee tomorrow. Leverage. If they came at me, I'd have an alibi.
An ally.
Jax met me at our old spot, a graffiti-walled cafe in Williamsburg. His beard fuller, eyes wary. Monroe? Thought you ghosted after your folks' drama. I did.
But.
Things are fucked. Need your help. Discreet. He listened as I spilled a sanitized version, no reincarnation. Just family skeletons. His jaw set.
Shit. Count me in.
Whatever you need. By noon. We had a plan. He'd crash the next Hargrove event as my +1, eyes and ears open. Risky. With his green card still pending. But Jax, loyal to a fault. Meanwhile, Vivian's DOJ contact bit, a preliminary probe into Hargrove's taxes. Anonymous tip from concerned kin. Mom noticed first. Her morning latte spilling as she read the mail. Audit? This is harassment. Dad soothed her. But his eyes found mine across the breakfast bar. Accusatory. Any idea who might be stirring pots? Eleanor. I shrugged. Buttering toast. Beats me. Maybe karma. The glare he shot could curdle milk. Escalation came swift. Lou the fixer cornered me in the penthouse garage, reeking of cheap cigarettes. His meaty hand on my wrist. Boss says stay in your lane, princess. Or next time, it's not a chat. I twisted free. Mace at the ready. Tell my father Monroe says fuck off. He laughed, but backed away. Message sent. Frank's next drop was dynamite. Audio from the bug. Dad raging to Mom post-audit. It's her. That old bat and the girl.
Cut 'em out now.
Vivian's will? We contest. Say undue influence.
Monroe?
Paint her crazy. Like the files. Mom's voice. Silk over steel. And if she talks, the Bronx. The fire. Accidents.
Él.
We've done it before. Before. The warehouse fire. Those inspectors weren't random. Dad's hands weren't clean. They were bloodied. I played it for Vivian over tea. Her face a thundercloud. Enough. We strike. The strike, a press leak to the Village Voice. With redacted docs. Headline dropped Friday. Hargrove Realty. Empire built on embezzlement? Pandemonium. Dad's calls exploded. Mom chain-smoking merits for the first time in years.
Who?
Who the fuck did this? Dad bellowed, slamming his fist on the granite island. I feigned shock, wide-eyed. Dad, what's wrong? He rounded on me, face purple. You know something? Spill it. Me?
God. No.
Oscar-worthy. But the damage spread. Investors pulled out. Unions picketed the Park Avenue HQ. Vivian hosted a family summit at the Brownstone Neutral Ground.
She said.
I arrived early. fortifying with her secret stash of single malt. They swept in like storm clouds, Dad in a power suit, Mom in Chanel armor. Vivian didn't preamble.
Seat.
We're ending this. End it? With what? Tea and threats. But Gran had cards, her own lawyer, a shark named Kessler, with the full $2 million will draft, already notarized, plus affidavits from the PI. Vivian's assets go to Monroe upon death.
Contesting?
Perjury charges. And these? He slid photos, Dad and Lou at the diner. Extortion.
Guide fraud.
Mom gasped. Theatrical. This is blackmail. We'll sue.
Kessler smiled.
Wolfish. Try it. DOJ circling. Your Caymans? Frozen by Monday. Dad lunged. But I stepped between. Voice calm. Touch her. And it's assault on video. I'd hidden my phone. Rolling. He deflated, sinking into a wingback. Monroe.
Why?
We're family. Family? I laughed. Bitter. You killed for this.
Me.
In another life. Almost. Silence. Thick as fog. Mom's eyes widened. Guilt? Fear? What are you? The truth. I pulled my ace, the forged psych files. Printed and damning. You planned to gaslight me into silence. Like the inspectors. Like anyone who crossed you. Vivian's hand on my shoulder. Steady. Confess. Richard. Eleanor. Or we go nuclear. The room hung. Suspended. Then Dad broke, tears. Real ones. Spilling as he muttered about protecting the legacy, how the embezzlement started small. Snowballed. Mom sobbed, blaming ambition. But the cracks showed. Her affairs. His mistresses. The rot at the core. By night's end. A deal. They resigned from the firm. Assets seized for restitution. Bronx families first. The $2 million?
Mean it.
Intact. With Vivian's blessing. No charges if they vanished. Floored of retirement. No contact. As they left, tails between legs, Mom whispered, "We did it for you."
Monroe.
Once. Liar, I said.
Door clicking shut.
Victory tasted like ash. Jax waited outside, pulling me into a hug that smelled of turpentine and home. You did it,
Babe.
But as we walked into the Manhattan night, sirens wailing distant, I wondered, was this justice? Or just the first layer peeled? The fallout hit like a nor'easter swift, unrelenting, stripping the Hargrove name bare. By Monday, the Village Voice story had metastasized. Times op-eds decrying corporate cannibalism, CNN panels dissecting the Hargrove hypocrisy, protesters chaining themselves to the Park Avenue scaffolding with signs reading blood money builds no homes. Dad's resignation letter leaked, my doing. A final twist of the knife, detailing personal lapses in judgment. Mom's socialite circle goes to her faster than a bad Tinder match. The Met Gala invites dried up. Her Instagram frozen in sepia-tone denial. Me? I quit the firm that afternoon. Badge slapped on the receptionist's desk with a curt, "Tell them Monroe says checkmate." The intern gawked. Whispers trailing me to the elevator like smoke. Freedom buzzed in my veins. Electric, but laced with vertigo. 10 years from now, no. Now in my old timeline, I'd been buried in Potter's Field. A pauper's plot for the troubled artist who'd OD'd alone.
Now.
At 30, in soul, if not body, I was walking out with my head high, Jax's hand in mine. And a bank alert pinging. Vivian's lawyers transferring the $2 million in chunks. Clean as fresh snow. Vivian threw a victory lap, tea that week. Ironic. Given her disdain for the stuff, her brownstone festooned with peonies and vindication. To loose ends tied, she toasted with sherry, her eyes twinkling like she'd orchestrated the whole symphony. Frank was there, nursing a beer, grumbling about kids these days, while slipping me his card for future gigs. Jax charmed her with a custom sculpture sketch, a phoenix rising from Manhattan gridlock, and she patted his cheek, declaring him worthy of my girl.
Worthy.
The word stuck, warm and unfamiliar. In my first life, relationships were collateral damage, Jax deported. My Columbia flings scared off by Dad's background checks.
Now?
We crashed at his Bushwick loft. Paint-splattered walls and exposed bric-a-brac to my frayed nerves. Nights tangled in sheets that smelled of him, clay and cedar. I confessed fragments, the nightmare of my death. The arsenic echo that woke me screaming. He listened, tracing scars on my knuckles from a long-ago bar fight. Never pushing. Whatever hell you crawled from. You're here now. But peace? Elusive as a sober brunch in the city. The threats didn't stop cold. A brick through my studio window 2 nights post-resignation. Scrawled with traitor in red marker. Cops wrote it off as random vandalism, but I knew better. Dad's old crew. Loyal dogs off the leash. I installed cameras, carried a switchblade, Vivian's gift, engraved for the fire, and doubled down on self-defense classes at a gritty gym in Red Hook. Punching bags till my hands bled felt cathartic, each thud a fuck you to the ghosts. The real gut punch came mid-month, a letter, forwarded from the penthouse, in Mom's looping script. Dearest Monroe, we've retreated to Sarasota as agreed. The sunsets are lovely, but empty without you. We were wrong, blinded by fear. Forgive, love always. Mom and Dad. Enclosed, a check for $50,000 for your fresh start. I stared at it, the ink blurring through tears I hadn't earned. Forgiveness? For plotting murder? For the Bronx families still coughing up black phlegm from their luxury ruins? I tore it up, scattering confetti in the East River, whispering to the current, rot in it. Vivian caught wind. Of course, spies everywhere. Burn it. Don't shred, she advised over chests in her garden. The board a battlefield of ebony and ivory. Fire purifies. She was frailier now, the fight taxing her 92-year frame. But her mind? A stiletto. We plotted my future. The $2 million seeded a graphic design co-op in Brooklyn. Space for artists like me, marginalized voices. Not mogul wannabes. Build what they tore down, she said, checkmating me with a pawn.
Fitting.
Jax dove in, his sculptures dotting the blueprint, abstract justice scales, warped by greed's gravity. But cracks showed in our idol. Late nights, I'd wake gasping, convinced I smelled almonds, arsenic's ghost. Jax held me, murmuring, it's over, but doubt gnawed.
Was it?
The DOJ probe dragged. Plea deals whispered, slap on the wrist community service for Dad. Probation for Mom. No jail time for the fire. The fraud.
Justice.
American style. Deferred.
Diluted.
Then the twist, the one that appended my revenge like a Jenga tower. Frank called at dawn. Voice hushed. Kid, you sitting? Dug deeper on that warehouse blaze. Inspectors? Not random. One was your uncle, Mom's brother. Tommy. They accident? Dad torched it to bury Tommy's evidence on the embezzlement. Family hit. Uncle Tommy. The ghost story Mom spun. Lost to cancer in '89.
Ide murnata MYT.
Lit candles on his birthday with tales of his war heroics. Now, Frank emailed scans. Autopsy suppressed. Accelerant traces. Tommy's notes finger-pointing straight at Richard. Motive? Tommy discovered the original swindle, Vivian's husband's estate. Siphoned to fund Hargrove's rise. Eleanor covered. But Tommy threatened exposure. Poof, fire. I confronted Vivian that evening, storming her parlor like a one-woman cyclone. You knew? About Tommy? She didn't flinch. Pouring cognac with surgeon's precision. Suspected. He vanished months before the blaze, said he was handling family business. Your father. He confessed. Once.
Drunk at a wedding.
I buried it. For peace.
Peace.
I exploded, slamming the glass down. Amber sloshing. They murdered my uncle. Your son-in-law killed blood. Her eyes. Ancient and aching.
Met Mina.
And I let it slide. Guilt's a heavy chain. Monroe. That's why the will, the money. To arm you against them. Betrayal. Round 2. Not just parents, grandma. Complicit in the cover-up. The room spun. My second chance souring. You used me. Groomed me for this vendetta.
No.
She gripped my hand. Frail bones iron. I trusted you to end it. Rightly. I fled. Jax finding me hours later on the Brooklyn Bridge. Wind whipping tears to salt. They all lied. I choked. Everyone. He pulled me close. Brooklyn's lights fracturing below. Not me. Not Vivian. Not really, she's flawed. Like us. But you're free now. That's the win.
Free.
The word echoed as weeks blurred. Co-op launch. Packed with ink-stained dreamers. Media hits framing me as the whistleblower heiress. Cathartic but exhausting. Mom and Dad's trial loomed federal. Finally, after Tommy's files surfaced via Frank's anonymous drop to prosecutors. Pleas rejected. Real bars beckoned. Twist's shadow lingered.
Though.
A week before sentencing, Mom requested a visit jailhouse. Through glass. I almost binned it. But curiosity, the artist's curse, won. She looked smaller. Grayer. The Chanel traded for orange scrubs. Monroe, she breathed. Receiver trembling.
Tommy.
It haunts me. Richard pulled the trigger. But I loaded the gun. For us. For you. For me? Disgust curled my lip. You are coming, our miracle baby. We needed security. Stability. Tears tracked her cheeks. I was young.
Scared.
But I loved you. Always. Lies. Or the closest she'd come to truth. I hung up without a word. The click final as a guillotine. Sentencing day. Federal courthouse. Midtown marble echoing with reporters' murmurs. Dad got 25. Arson. Fraud. Conspiracy.
Mom.
18. Accessory. Vivian testified. Voice steady. They chose greed over blood. Let justice choose for them. As cuffs clicked, Dad's eyes met mine across the gallery, pleading.
Broken. Saw the
Kiddo. I turned away. Jax's hand anchoring me. Sorry didn't unpoison the wine. Unburn the warehouse. But it cracked the armor. Just enough. After. Vivian and I walked Central Park, leaves crunching autumn gold. Regrets? She asked. One. I stopped, facing her. Not ending it sooner.
She smiled.
Faint. You did. In your way. Winter thawed to spring. The co-op thrived. Jax's ring on my finger, a promise etched in silver. Vivian passed quietly that June, heart. Not poison, leaving letters. One for me. Forgiving her silence on Tommy. Urging live fierce. The $2 million? It built more than walls, scholarships, studios. A legacy untainted. Nights. I still taste arsenic's echo. But it's faint.
Fading.
Revenge? It hollowed. Then healed. In this life, I chose creation over destruction. And damn if it didn't feel like winning. But as Jax and I paint the nursery, our miracle on the way, I wonder, what secrets does this child carry? What fires will they outrun? The cycle breaks with us. Or so I pray. Epilogue whispers in the quiet hours, when the city hums lullabies of possibility and peril. 2 years on, and the Hargrove scar tissue itches less, a faint line on my soul's map, navigable if not erased. The co-op, rechristened Phoenix Press, sprawls across a warehouse in Dumbo, silkscreen presses whirring, walls alive with murals of reclaimed narratives. Artists from the Bronx, displaced by Dad's condos, lead workshops now. Their voices amplified where mine once choked. Jax's sculptures anchor the space, twisted metal guardians against the greed that birthed us all. Vivian's gone, but her echo lingers, a trust fund for the co-op, stipulating no suits allowed. I visit her plot monthly. Gramercy Park's wrought iron serenity, a far cry from Potter's Field. We did it. Gran y murmur. Leaving wildflowers, defiant, like her. Tommy's grave.
Umarketili petitionet.
Now bears a stone. Truth burns brightest. Closure? As American as apple pie, messy. Overdue. But sweet. Mom writes from Alderson, those federal gray walls swallowing her Chanel dreams. Letters evolve, from pleas to reflections, snippets of regret unspooling like old film. I see you in the news, building what we broke.
Proud.
Despite it all. I don't reply, but I don't burn them either. Forgiveness isn't absolution, it's space to breathe. Dad, silent, his appeals exhausted. Rumors say he's teaching real estate law to inmates, irony's cruelest joke. Jax and I, anchored in Bushwick brownstone bliss. The nursery a riot of primary colors and half-finished mobiles. Our daughter, Vivian Monroe Reyes Hargrove, Vivi for short, arrived screaming into a July heatwave. Fists balled like she was ready to fight the world. Holding her, slick and squalling, I wept, not for the death I dodged, but the life I claimed. You're safe, I whisper nightly, her tiny chest rising against mine. Safe from poison, from plots. But safe from what will pass down? That's the gamble. The twist that nearly broke me, Tommy's truth, rippled wider. Post-sentencing. A class action suit bloomed. Bronx families, armed with my leaks, suing Hargrove remnants for millions in relocation damages. I testified, voice steady under fluorescence, recounting the luxury, lies that evicted grandmas and shattered lives. Verdict? A win $10M fund. Homes rebuilt. One plaintiff, a single mom named Rosa, hugged me after. You gave us our ground back.
Ground.
Legacy. Reclaimed. But controversy clings. American as tabloid fodder. Pundits dub me the vengeful heiress. Fox News sneering spoiled brat torches family for fame, while NPR hails whistleblower warrior. Social media? A battlefield. Trolls dredging my crazy artist phase. Defenders flooding with phoenix emojis. I lean in, tweeting sketches of the trial, caricatures of dad's scowl. Mom's poise, turning scandal to satire. Art as armor. One late-night scroll unearths the real gut twist, an X thread from a reformed fixer, claiming Lou's confession tape exists, buried in evidence lockers. Hargrove ordered more than fires, hits on rivals. Silenced witnesses. More? My pulse spikes. Old paranoia flaring. I call Frank, retired in Florida, but still sharp. Bullshit or bombshell? Check the docket.
Kid.
Motion to suppress. DA's call. DA's call. Politics. Always the puppet master. I file a FOIA. Wait weeks. Get redacted pages. Hints of deeper webs. But no smoking gun. Enough to fuel nightmares. Not indictments. Jax finds me at dawn.
Laptop aglo.
Let it go.
Mo.
Vivi's first steps tomorrow. He's right. The cycle betrayal. Bury. Repeat. Ends with intention. I log off. Join him on the fire escape. City lights winking like conspirators. What if there's more skeletons? Then we dance around his grin, crooked and certain. Or build a bonfire. Vivi's steps come wobbly. From coffee table to my arms. Her gurgle a victory chant. We celebrate with rooftop barbecue. Neighbors toasting the Hargrove who didn't suck. Laughter flows. Easy. Earned. Yet. In quiet. Doubts slither. Did I go too far? Leaking the gala audio. Doxing the PACs? Controversy's currency. Some call it vigilantism. Others justice porn. A podcaster invites me on. Monroe Hargrove. Hero or homewrecker? I decline. But pen a graphic novel instead. Arsenic air. Veiled autobiography. Panels bleeding rage and redemption. It sells out indie shops. Sparks debates in zine circles. Art. Not apology. Mom's latest letter arrives on Vivi's first birthday, a crayon scribble enclosed. Her grandma art. Teach her grace. Not grudges.
Grace.
I frame it. Hidden in a drawer, reminder. Not relic. As summer fades, Jax and I walk the High Line. Vivi in a carrier. Babbling at rusting rails. The skyline looms. Once Dad's kingdom. Now dotted with co-op billboards. Rebuild. Resist.
Rise.
A protest march snakes below unions. Tenants. Echoes of the fire's ghosts. I join. Sign high, no more loose ends. The chant pulses. Whose streets? Our streets. For Tommy. For the Bronx. For the girl I was choking.
Betrayed.
Now, I breathe free. Lungs full of possibility. Twist's final turn. Weeks later. A package unmarked. Postmarked Sarasota. Inside. Dad's old Rolex. Engraved to Monroe, time to heal. And a note. Wore it through the bad.
Yours now.
Make it count.
Love. Dad.
I pawn it. Proceeds to the victim's fund.
Count? Oh.
I will. In stories told. In lives rebuilt. In the fire I pass not as curse,
but spark.
This is America. Betrayal's banquet. Revenge's reckoning. Redemption's ragged edge. I survived the plate.
Now.
I cook the feast. And damn, it tastes like home.